What's good, y'all? It's Drew here, back with another collab video. So today we have a very special guest, you know what I'm saying? But why don't you introduce yourself?
It is I have returned once more. Eternal Flame was goody in the hoodie, everybody. Yeah, that's right, I'm back.
You know what I'm saying? We got Eternal Flame back on the channel. It's been a minute since we've had bro on, so yeah. So today we have a very interesting video. I think that as y'all, I mean, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know what I'm saying, you guys might know about that. JJK's been over for a while now, so we're just kind of discuss. We have there's some stuff with JJK that I think I want to say the JJK ending and overall, I'm gonna say left a little bit. I'll be general and say that it left some stuff left to be desired, so to speak. Like I think a lot of people wanted to see other things. I wouldn't say it's had a bad ending, but that's what I'd say overall. But
Yeah.
yeah. So in the spirit of that, today we are going to talk about the best JJK spin-offs and what we would like to see personally.
So one of the biggest things that I really want to see for a JJK spin-off is like the next year of our first year generation of students of Nobara, Megumi, and Yuji. I want to see what their second year is doing and like them basically taking on the same role that Yuta and the other students took on, them getting stronger while helping to guide in a new generation of students, especially with the role that Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara have ended up taking, and the fact that the world is a lot more chaotic. Because the funny thing about Jujutsu Kaisen's ending is that like the world is not just the same as it was before, it is debatably much worse than it was before. So yeah, they're going to be much more chaos, much stronger cursed spirits that are on the rise, and our cast is going to have to go through it, and I kind of want to see that. It wouldn't be like a JJK next generation type thing, obviously, because it's 1 year later, but it would be pretty interesting to see how the world is adjusting now that Gojo is gone and basically the safety net is gone. And while they had removed one of the sharks, let's see what they can do against the piranhas.
Yeah, now I'm not gonna lie, it's actually kind of crazy because when you said that, I literally thought about it. The entire JJK series is year one of Yuji. Like, I think it's high school, so it's like probably 4 years or 3 at least, because a lot of the people are like 30 years. So yeah, like the fact that Yuji and them are year two, and like Yuji's arguably, I don't know how powerful Yuji is in terms of, I don't know, but like I think it's a little contentious. But Yuji's a really powerful, second year, so to speak. But yeah, now that is weird, honestly. Like you're saying, it wouldn't be like a JJK next gen. It'd be kind of oh, look at the new freshmen, and Yuji and Megumi and Nobara might take a more mentoring kind of role. Yeah, that's
It kind of be like JJK next generations, honestly. Not even next generation, no, wrong word. It'd be like JJK Shippuden, honestly.
Yeah, that's how it would be. And it's like, oh, we got these new, I like that. That's actually low-key a hit. I was not thinking about that at all, to be honest.
It's only the one I want to see most. I know there are like some people who want to see other things most that we're definitely going to talk about in this video, but that is the one that I have most in mind of all. However, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, and I think this is something that people were pushing for a while, and this is like, we're gonna, instead of going forward, we're gonna go a little bit backwards. I think a Heian kind of period arc like of JJK, we get like the entire synopsis. That'd be kind of good, because we know obviously that Sukuna, it's kind of implied the your average sorcerer. I think it kind of was based off your average sorcerer back in the day was way stronger than they are now. Like it kind of, even like the domain, a lot of people had domain expansions and they weren't all used for fighting. That was kind of interesting. We saw a bunch of characters like we saw a bunch of characters that Sukuna kind of interacted with, and it's like, oh, he was from the past generation, he was too. And it's like, okay, well, a whole Heian era flashback would just kind of, I think, would go insane personally.
I think a Heian era flashback would go pretty crazy. I have some opinions about that. Like, I know who I would want to see a flashback of most, because there are two things I want to see a flashback of, which one of them is a Kenjaku flashback for obvious reasons. I want to know more about Kenjaku. You want to know more about Kenjaku. Everyone wants to know more about our JJK narrator, our JJK in-world offer. However, I am in the minority of not wanting to know more about Sukuna's backstory, because I actually feel like we know enough, and I feel like a large part of Sukuna's narrative is that he's kind of just this special type of person that doesn't need to be understood. He just exists. Like, even the fact we don't know Sukuna's name is crazy, but still, like, yeah. However, one of the things that I always wanted to see most, it was like a Heian era story from the perspective of some random people who lived in the Heian era that like had to live through this troubles, the strifes. And I could imagine like an entire story about them training, trying to get stronger to prepare to deal with this evil king, and then they fight against Sukuna and then die. But like it's these characters we follow the journey of and see how they try and live through the Heian era, and it's basically exploring it through their POV.
Yeah, no, like and I think like I think that actually works out better because like even with the I understand where you're coming from with the Sukuna and how it's kind of keeping the mystique. It's I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but if you are,
yes, I love Star Wars.
Okay, you know what I'm saying that works out perfectly then. You've seen Rogue One, right?
Yep.
You know how like Rogue One was kind of from the perspective of like the basically just like it wasn't like we're not getting a Jedi or like a Sith kind of perspective, but it's like all these random kind of characters and we're just watching them. I think also Endor is kind of like that as well. That might be like that's the same kind of time.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it's like like whereas with Endor we're not seeing Palpatine, we're not seeing Darth Vader. We're really like we're dropping the scale so everything is scarier. So like a random sorcerer. To like if we're talking about a random person's POV, a random sorcerer is scary as hell. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to Sukuna kind of thing. I think that like to what you're saying, well, that'd be kind of fun. I think there's just so much to do with the past. Heck, you can even have Kashimo somewhere. I don't know where the timelines. I know he's from 400 years ago. The timelines match up, but we can really see like all the old heads that were rocking it out. Because Kashimo, from what we see, he was like one of the strongest sorcerers back in the day. He just wasn't Sukuna, you know. So that I think would be really cool. Kind of
there's just so much potential for a bunch of like old era shows, and like I can see why a lot of people would want a Heian era flashback show a lot. I'm in the minority of not wanting it as much as other people, but I can see why a lot of people would want it, even though I feel like a Kenjaku show would be the best when it comes to getting answers about the narrative that we don't have answers to. However, I don't think it would be as interesting as I think people give it credit for, or people think it would be.
Yeah, I think it's I could see that. I just think that there'd be a lot of answers and stuff that we'd get, and I think that people would enjoy. Like you're saying, that there's a lot of Kenjaku stuff that would be cool. Just to be able to see that Heian era, just to kind of see how it links in. Also, I mean, this was kind of touched upon, and we didn't really ever see it again. I want to see like the past 6 Eyes Infinity user, and the past 10 Shadows user fighting it out, or them ruling. Like that was something that we kind of touched on. It was like Gojo was like, oh yeah. Like those guys are really strong. I think we know that no one ever tamed Maharaga, so there's a cap on how strong that guy was. But it's still a fact of like, seeing those two rule and fight would be crazy. I think that would be something that I really want to see, for instance.
Agreed. And like something else I want to see confirmed, because I have theorized about this for a while. When Gojo was talking to Megumi about that, we don't actually know for certain if Maharaga was summoned on that 6 Eyes was Limitless user. Sure, Megumi believes that, but there was a bunch of implications from the narrative where Gojo's effectively telling him, you do not need Maharaga to be strong. So there's kind of like, there's potential arguments that it could have been just the 10 Shadows user was strong on their own. And keep in mind as well, the 6 Eyes user wouldn't be as strong as Gojo either, for obvious reasons. Gojo is the strongest of all time. That, like, the strongest Pine Sukuna of all time. So yeah,
that's the thing
like,
too. It's like,
there was a lot that could be done with this show.
Yeah, I think like a Heian era, and it didn't have to touch on Sukuna, honestly. Like you can have Sukuna be, what's an example? Be like you could have him just be covered in mystique and shrouded in mystery, right? It's like, okay, no one knows about the legendary Sukuna. He's the strongest sorcerer that's in existence right now, and everyone who's gone to face him has died. You can leave it like that, and we're just like, and we could even Yorozu. She's someone that's from the past that she was tough. She really I think something about her. We know that she kind of had a thing for Sukuna. She was obsessed with him, but like she was a sorcerer from the Heian era. I think that's kind of cool. There's a lot of stuff I think that we can kind of touch on, even like you were saying, excluding Sukuna. It'd be like, all right, cool. Well, there's a lot to it. And that I definitely need to see that a 6 Eyes and 10 Shadows. I need to see how when they go them going band for band, because that was a thing that obviously happened.
Yeah. Up next now, we're gonna move on from the old era. The other spin-off idea that I had in mind is kind of working off of something that Kenjaku introduced, which like goes back to the JJK next year type thing I talked about, which is like seeing some sorcery from some other countries. I want to see Tengen's barrier go down. I want to see curse energy and sorcerers become a worldwide phenomena. I see it as being pretty unlikely to happen because Japan, and yeah, but at the same time, if this were to happen, if we could get worldwide Jujutsu Kaisen, that is the most requested thing for like I've ever seen for JJK. More than a Sukuna Heian era flashback, more than anything else. The main thing that I have seen most people want above all else is just worldwide Jujutsu Kaisen. How sorcerers from different countries would be like, the conflicts that would spawn over curse energy, because there is so much conflict and potential from that. And like, imagine curses from America, curses from Canada, my land, or curses just from everywhere.
No, that actually would go crazy. I think I feel like I'm throwing a bunch of references today, which is funny. You've seen Avatar, right? Avatar: The Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to like Legend of Korra. I think it was what, season 3 or probably season 3, where a bunch of people get a bunch of bending, and we see they kind of rebuild the air nomads and whatnot, and it'd kind of be like, it's kind of like that, where it's like, oh yeah, all these random people that have never seen curses and are not sorcerers, bam, they get sorcerers. And like, honestly, that could spawn like 5 shows, because you could have a show, you could have a different show for the different freaking continents and different like areas, right? You could have one like North America and all that, right? But you could have it, you could have a villain from America or someone from Canada say, oh yeah, I got sorcerer powers and they're a good guy. There's a bunch of stuff that kind of could play into it, and we can even throw like obviously the Yuji and the Megumis of the world, and they interact with those people. I think that just, there's a lot that can go into that, opening up the world. Like you're saying, this is all in Japan. Like the most that we kind of touched on outside of Japan, I think, is when Yuta was in Africa. Like those couple, it was what, 2 years, I think, or it wasn't 2 years. It was like for those months though. It
was less than a year. It was like 4 months, if I remember correctly. But even then, we didn't get to see any of the training. All we got to see was Yuta appear in Africa and talk to Miguel. We didn't get to see any of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think being able to kind of touch on other places and kind of say, oh, these are the sorcerers from here, it could literally, this would be an insane arc. Imagine a sorcerer World War II. Now I'm not condoning that kind of violence. That'd be nasty, but that would be something insane to see.
Wouldn't it be World War III?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be like a sorcery World War III, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I got money on Japan because they got Yuta and Megumi. But like, touching on that, because you did touch on it, we did both kind of touch on this as well. We didn't see Yuta in Africa the whole time, and I think that, I don't think it'd be as long as the other series, but seeing what I think, like, kind of, and this could be like a kind of a bunch of mini stories. Some of the characters that were kind of off screen for a long time, and then we see them later, or even just off screen in general. I like a series of seeing what they did. So like, what did Yuta do in Africa? Seeing everything that he did. I don't really know what Toto was doing for per se. Maybe we can kind of see a little bit of that. But some characters that were kind of out of the scene for a while, like I think Yuta would be a great example. What was Yuta doing for this whole time? We kind of see that. What was maybe there was more like relevance on what he did in Africa, and we could see that. Miguel, what was Miguel doing pretty much all this time? That kind of stuff, I think, would be.
Yeah, I could see that having a lot of potential. Like, I don't think JJK has as big of a problem as most other series do of having many off-screen things, but this is mainly because JJK is legitimately like one of the shortest timeline series I've ever seen. Keep in mind, everything we see in JJK is about the time span of 7 to 9 months. The time always varies, like from when I'm checking it, but like the longest it can possibly be is 9 months. Which is kind of crazy to me whenever I look back at it, but it's still true.
Yeah, when you said like, oh yeah, it's all a year, I was literally like, yo, I was shocked. Like, yeah, like it's kind of insane to think about it all being a year, and and I think that kind of yields to JJK feeling so much shorter, because there was really no time. Like, you had the time skip between the Gojo fight, but there was really no real time skip in JJK, and you really think about it. Like, Yuji is like 14? He's 14 when the show ends. Like, nothing is really.
He's 15, but 15,
yeah. Yeah, my fault. He's 15. But nothing has really changed in that sense with the timeline and whatnot. So it's like, but yeah, honestly, kind of jumping to that point, we have kind of touched on like a JJK Shippuden, but imagine if we like. I know this. I feel like this never usually works, but I think a spinoff where they jump. What about a spinoff where they jump like 5-10 years, like somewhere in that range? How would you feel about that?
would do well, but at the same time, I somewhat question it purely because I feel like it would very easily be able to fall into the Boruto issue,
Yeah.
where it would start introducing have to start introducing villains that are stronger than people like Gojo and Sukuna because of potentials established for characters like Yuji, Yuta, and Megumi. Because like, if we see them at their adult stage, their fully realized potential, there's just too many narrative implications for them to reach that Gojo level. And I know there are a bunch of people who don't want to see Gojo surpassed.
Yeah.
So
This is true.
yeah, it has some potential, but at the same time, I feel like it would have to be something to be built into. Like if we were to introduce a bunch of shows that slowly build into them growing, where we do 1 year later, then 5 years later, just slowly introduce them and have them go on that path and eventually reach that 10-year point where it's a show finally focus on them achieving their full potential, then I feel like it would be an easier pill to swallow, because then we can actually see the characters continue to grow.
Yeah, just to kind of get, I think it would be, to kind of get them reaching, because I understand what you're saying. We don't, I feel like the Gojo status of like power is something that we want to, be earned. In that sense, we don't want it to be, oh well, I was like, I was Megumi level, and then we just had a time skip, and now I'm like the Boruto issue. We're fighting characters that would solo Gojo easily. It's like, that's why I'm like 10 years is a bit much. Even like, because Gojo. From teenage Gojo to current Gojo, that's 10 years, and that was like a pretty big gap. That's why I'm like, okay, maybe even less than 10, but more like through, maybe not. Maybe you could like do, maybe even jump from he's a first year, maybe jump to like third year, fourth year. Do they do 4 years?
We don't know.
We don't really.
We know there are third years in Akari, but we don't know if there's a fourth year.
That's the thing too. So I guess even that, like, what like. Let him graduate. Like let's see a third to fourth year Yuji. Like maybe not go like you're kind of saying. Maybe not go too far, and have it be kind of a skill to kind of just to explore what they're doing. Because I think honestly, like, and this might because I feel like, and I don't know what you feel about the Nobara thing. Nobara getting introduced back in like the last 2 episodes, and Megumi coming back like the last episode. I talked about this in a video. It kind of felt like, besides Yuji, everyone else kind of got a shaft. Like they got shafted out. Like I don't like how Nobara's character was handled after she was taken out,
Yeah, I mean, I don't have problems with how Megumi came back in. The entire point of the arc was to save Megumi. I kind of wish that we could continue on longer to explore his character, so I don't have any problems with that. But Nobara's return, terrible. I could go on for an hour about talking that one, because I hate it with a passion. And like, there's no way that I could have done it better in my mind too, which is something else I do not like. Like whenever I have an issue with something in writing, I always try my best to figure out some way that it could have been done better before I talk about the issue itself, mainly because I like to at least make a way to improve it, a way to make it better. But I genuinely don't think there was a way that they could have returned Nobara and made it better. Like the best way that I've currently heard is, you remember when Yuta took over Gojo's body and he intervened and saved Yuji from Sukuna activating his domain, right?
Yeah.
The best way that I've currently heard is having Nobara actually wake up and use resonance at that point instead, preventing Sukuna from using his domain expansion so they can continue on their battle, rather than just having like Yuta and Gojo's body fight him for like a whole chapter.
Yeah. So then why do you think that? I guess with JJK ending where it did, I just feel like they could have, because it had gotten to the point with the Nobara stuff that I was like, yeah, she's not coming back. It's been way too long. Like, I think her coming back in like the culling game somewhere in the middle could have been like, maybe after the culling games could have been like, okay, we get some time to do stuff with her. Why do you not think that could have worked out?
Maybe, but like at the same time, at least for me, Nobara like coming back has always kind of been a bit more of a sour point, at least for me, because like JJK was known as the series where nobody is safe, right? Yeah. And the reason why I got that reputation was not because of any other death. It wasn't because of Junpei's death. It wasn't because of Nanami's death. It was because of Nobara. It was because of Nobara losing her eye and getting killed like that. It was why so many cope trains were developed, because people couldn't accept the fact that Nobara, one of the main free characters, died at the midway point of the series. But it's revealed that Nobara wasn't dead, which ended up making that like hit much less hard, because a lot of JJK's massive points is that no one is safe. The characters need to be smart. They need to earn their victories, but Nobara just returning ends up showing that there is some level of plot armor. which I mean, obviously there is going to be plot armor for the characters. That's always going to be a thing, no matter what you say, no matter what you want to say. Plot armor just exists. But Nobara kind of succeeded in making people feel there wasn't any plot armor, and it's just something I always liked. Nobara's death was one of the biggest shows that death had consequences in JJK, and it's why I was never really a big fan of her return.
Yeah, I can get it. So then, how did you feel about like the initial before she came back, when it was kind of stated, oh yeah, she's not dead. There's a non-zero chance she's dead. Like, did you like that left the door open? Because I feel like that was a lot of people's hope of like we don't. Nanami was cooked. We knew from the beginning Nanami was cooked. But with Nobara, it was like, oh well, we have enough time. We might be able to save her, but we don't know. Like, how did you feel about that before she came back?
I mean, I was okay with the door being open. I was okay with people coping, but at the same time, I was just under the impression that it was going to be, yeah, Gege is just mean, and he's just gonna, harsh, like, in reality, it actually turns out that the 99% was right and not the 1% of Nobara living. And I'm just like, I've also just came to accept that Nobara was dead. I felt really sad at Nobara's death too. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. There is a small part of me that is happy that Nobara is alive, and that's the part of me that genuinely likes her character and likes her a lot. But I have to accept that I don't like Nobara's return as much as I do. The thing that just constantly irks me about it is I'm trying to figure out some way to make it better, but I can't figure it out off the top of my head. Like, maybe reintroducing her into calling games, like you said, might have worked, but I don't really know.
Yeah, and I think this is something I had to learn just watching series. Because sometimes you watch a series and you're like, oh, thematically this will make the quality of the series like lower. For instance, like, okay, well, if they brought back Jiraiya and Naruto, like, it kind of take away from things. But then at the same time, Jiraiya might not be a great example, but at the same time, it's like, damn, even though this might not be great for the story, I just love this character. I wish we could see him again, you know? Kind of being able to balance that. And Nobara's not a character that I feel that way with. Like, it got to the point where I was like, yo, I need Gojo back, and I know it's not going to even play out well, but like, I'm a Gojo man. But I understand at the same time, like, Gojo being dead is good for the series. And I think even Gege knew about how people were feeling about the Gojo stuff, to the fact that he played the whole thing of Yuta using Gojo's body in that way on purpose, just because he wanted to play around with our feelings. For you know how Gege is. But
yeah, which this is actually a pretty good segue point for the next spin-off show that I have in mind, which is, you know how like Marvel has a What If series, right?
Oh yeah, What Ifs are great. Yeah,
that for Jujutsu Kaisen, because like I feel there's no better series for a What If series to exist for Jujutsu Kaisen. For example, like, what if Nobara actually stayed dead? And like, of course, while there's the obvious things that get, like, Sukuna might end up winning, but at the same time, with the What If series, they often end up having so much fun and creative liberties where they don't go the full-on realistic path, because they can do that. Like, there are so many things that they can do, and they don't have to full-on go the realistic path. They can just have fun with the story and just write, like focus on a specific arc. For example, like, there are a bunch of what ifs that can be focused on, as one of the biggest ones that I have in mind is what if Gojo didn't awaken against Toji?
Yeah, honestly, like, this might get touched upon as well. I honestly, this could be like a short plug, because you have your own like what if series that you're actually running at this current moment. You just dropped like maybe an hour ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
yep.
It's weird. So definitely check out Eternal Flame with that. He has a lot of great videos about, well, you have a whole what if series that's going on. But it's honestly giving me, like, I think, like, I'm completely agreeing, honestly, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff that they can kind of play out, because a lot of things, like you're saying, the what if Marvel series, I don't know if you see the what if Marvel, I think they're on Netflix, like the what if Marvel, like, shorts, like 6 minutes. Have you ever seen them?
They're shorts? I have not, no.
Oh, maybe they're like cartoon stuff. Maybe I'm wrong as well, but similar to that point, I think a bunch of like cool what ifs, like you were saying, what if Gojo doesn't awaken? Because it does give you, like you were saying, it gives the Gege a chance or the creator a chance to get in their bag with the what if. Like, you can, because obviously people could be like, oh well, like you were saying, what if Nobara doesn't come back? Well, then obviously we're going to play the plot exactly how it is. But it's like, well, no, because Gege can make Sukuna do something different, you know? People make mistakes in battles and stuff like that, you know? Like the Kenjaku Yuki battle, that played out in a certain way because Gege he made Yuki do something, and he made Kenjaku do something, you know? So we could completely have a different thing. I don't think what if Gojo won? I don't know if that'd be great because this series kind of ends there. But I'm trying to think of a really great what if that I enjoy. Honestly, like what if Mahito, for instance, didn't die? Like, what if he didn't get defeated by Kenjaku? Because he was kind of, the whole thing with Mahito, he was kind of pushed as like the Yuji parallel, right, where he kept on growing, and he was a character that was going to keep on growing. Like he was one of the weaker curses of his group, but he was a person with a limitless potential. And it's like, oh shit, kind of like Yuji, like he could keep growing and he could have eventually become a problem for a lot of the other people at some point. You know, I think that would be interesting to see how he would have played out. His story got very abruptly stopped, you know. So
yeah, I mean, there were just so much potential things that Gege could do, and like potential ways that he could dive in. And like these what ifs obviously don't need to be as long as Jujutsu Kaisen for obvious reasons, but there is just so much that could be done. And like it would also be a really cool way to explore JJK's world, its system, and how things could be altered and what can and cannot function. And it would just be really cool. I always just love what ifs. It's one of my favorite things to read about, write about, and just watch. It's amazing, and JJK just has so much potential. Sure, it is a very streamlined series. I cannot go in depth with enough today about how much JJK needs specifically to happen for it to function. Like, JJK is arguably the worst timeline for the series. It's actually kind of crazy how much is needed for it to function and for us to get to the current point we are at today. But it doesn't really have to be that way. There are always things that can be done.
That might be my new favorite, the what if, honestly, because there's a lot that can kind of go into it. It actually honestly made me think just about like some characters that we kind of got short ends of the stick because of that. So for instance, and I touched on this, and we can kind of I think this is going to play into the what if a little bit too, because I think look at a person like Yuki. I feel like Yuki, Yuki, I think, and this is a slight tangent, but Yuki is super interesting to me as a character because she gave Toto her, like, you know, what kind of girl do you like, right? Like that's the, you know, a goofy thing. But then we get to see her, and she kind of low key, I feel like people talk about this, but I feel like for as crazy it is, I feel like people don't talk about it, how she low key put Getsu on the path to be like, all right, well, F humans, I'm going to, like, sorcerers are the superior, like, race, so to speak, because she was like, oh yeah, well, we should probably get rid of curses, and here are the 2 ways we could do it. And Getsu was like, yeah, it's genius, I'll go the opposite way of what you said. And she's like, I'm not, like, Yuki, like, what put Yuki on her path to kind of come with this sensible idea to completely wipe out curses, you know? Like, Yuki is a lot with her, and we really don't see a lot of Yuki at all. Like, she's kind of this side character in a bunch of main characters' plots. She's like a side character with Getsu. She's a side character with like Yuji and Todo. Like, there's a lot with Yuki that I think I want to see more of. You know, her as a main character as opposed to as a mentor, so to speak.
Same here. I want to see Yuki working to achieve her goal, and more importantly, I want to see Yuki's research on the soul, because she has an entire notebook on the soul, and I want to know how she got that research, who she researched to learn about it, because if you can have enough to fill in an entire notebook, or even half of a notebook, or basically like however much she filled in, I want to know, because Yuki feels like she has so much potential for her story and potential to show what she was doing. I honestly feel like she's one of the more interesting people that we could follow because of how much we could be told about her. I also want to see, like, if Yuki had any more students across the world other than just Todo, since her goal was at some point to make people into sorcerers, until eventually she decided, nah, we're gonna make more people like Toji. We're gonna make more people like that gym rat, that absolute mutant of a man, Toji. But no. I want to see what Yuki was doing this entire time, because she had been working for over 10 years at least to try and figure out a way to rid the world of curses.
Yeah, like I completely agree. Yuki herself could give you like 3 side stories, like you're saying. So we have the Yuki, her journey from like her kid to like why she decided to do what she did to wipe out curses, like what put her on that path. That's like a Yuki followed story. You have all the soul stuff. You can have her being the focal point of figuring out how she knows so much about soul, because that notebook is super, like, it's like a freaking landmine of information, right? Then you could even do a side story of her going, like you were saying, to make a bunch of sorcerers, but she could literally scour the world and find, you know, strong potential sorcerers and be like, yeah, I'll train you for like a couple months, maybe a year or two, and I'll be on my way. Like that is something that we could get. Like Yuki is like that. And also I think that she was pretty broken, and we kind of, it's unfortunate that her only fight was one that she, you know, had to lose, and it wasn't a great matchup for her in that sense. So seeing how much of a heavy hitter she is, you know, pun intended, would be great. So I think Yuki's up there. I can't lie.
Agreed. There are just so many things we could have seen in JJK that just has so much cool potential. I want to see the early stages of Curse Energy before Kenjaku's existence, or hell, even if Kenjaku was around during that time. I want to see when Curse Energy was first discovered. I want to see when sorcery was used, because we know Curse Energy is over 2,000 years old, or at least people have been using it for over 2,000 years because of Druve. So I want to see the earliest usages of Curse Energy and how they began to figure things out. I want to also see who was the person that just like randomly placed their hands together and oh no, they spawned an entire pocket dimension, being like their domain.
Yeah, I honestly that actually, like, I agree with that too, because I think this actually made me think about it, because like you were saying, like some things like Maharaga, because like the 10 shadows, it summons creatures, but Maharaga's like a creature that has a mind of its own, in the sense of like it's you know, he's like why does it have this adaptation gene that's random, like kind of what you were saying. We know sorcery is old, and curses have kind of lived for almost ever, but it's like, well, what made, you know, someone was able to take the curse energy and make a curse technique, and you know, how they learn how to use a domain and all these abilities, and kind of having, like, I don't know, almost like it'd be like the Stone Age of JJK, and we're seeing characters create JJK, you know, stuff like that. That would move me exponentially, you know. So
same here
with that.
Like,
so.
I just want to see a curse. I just want to see a caveman using a curse energy on a club. That's all I want in life. Okay.
Yeah,
is that too much to ask for?
Eternal Flame, is there any videos you want to plug? You know what I'm saying? You did just, you know, drop something. You have anything you want to plug out before we head this out?
If you guys like any of my ideas that I talked about, one of my recent series that I've been doing on my channel is a what if around if Yuji got blood manipulation from the start, where basically in this story, Kenjaku decided to modify Yuji as a baby and turn him into a death painting, yada yada yada. It's mainly just Yuji has blood manipulation from the start, can connect to his brothers. I think it's a pretty cool story. Some people like it, some people don't. I've mainly seen people like it, so I'm curious to see if you guys think it. But of course, your opinion, up to you.
Yep, you guys definitely check out Eternal Flame. The what if is interesting, and honestly, even for me, let me know if you guys want to see some from me. I think there's some JJK. Gege left a lot of good topics for us to unearth, and I think that he's left it up to us, you know what I'm saying, to activate our domain, so to speak, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, you know, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Obviously subscribe to Eternal Flame, you know what I'm saying, that's the Brody. So
drink your water.
Yeah. So drink water for sure. You don't want kidney stones. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's all from us. So we're out. Peace.
Bye.